Okay, now the recording is also on. So we started by discussing our mental formations or mental images, we call them. We found that every one of us carry a lot of mental images or formations with us. And we also discussed how mental formations are made in the mind. They are individual, completely owned by the person, and subjective, and completely made within the mind. Using what? In order to make a mental image, the mind will be combining what it is getting from all the senses, like eye, ear, the nose, and the tongue, and the body, the five senses first. And through the five senses, the mind is getting perceptions like color perceptions, sound perceptions, and the taste perceptions likewise. Five perceptions are received, and five kinds of feelings are also received. Feelings we are going to study in detail today. And those feelings, those perceptions are combined with internal thoughts about what is being perceived. Remember the internal thoughts, what did we call them? Well, we call them by volitions, chetana. By using internal thoughts, generating thoughts about what we are perceiving, those thoughts and emotions generated internally can also be added to the mental formation and remembered. So when we remember something like a place or a person, actually what is being remembered is a combination of all those perceptions received from the senses and the sensations or feelings generated from them, combined with internal thoughts generated by the mind. And that thoughts consist of the emotions as well. So when we remember a place, we get an emotion as well. So that is how we define mental formations. Then we discussed that if any mental formation is not satisfactory, we may change them by proper volitions. So meditation volitions can be used to change mental formation which you think is causing some problems to you. That we call the engineering of the thought process, which can be done through simple techniques we learn in this course, the meditations. And then we discussed about the mindfulness, being mindful at the present moment. It's being right here and right now. Developing awareness in an unbiased or neutral manner, we called mindfulness. So what were the levels of mindfulness? There were 4 levels of mindfulness. Being mindful about the physical body is the first level. Then being mindful about the feelings or sensations is the second level. Then being mindful about the mind itself, the mental states, that is the third level. Then being mindful about the mental elements, the fourth state. So there were 4 stages that we need to gradually develop. And where were we when we stopped last time? We were discussing mindfulness about the body, physical body. And let me share my screen there to recap. Okay, these were the 4 levels. Here, the word mind is being mindful of the mental states. We are going to discuss mental states, of course, not today, maybe next week. But today, our main topic will be feelings. However, we did not finish this part. Therefore, we will be starting from here. And after the break, we will be discussing being mindful of how to be mindful of the feelings. So about the body, how many different mindfulness meditations were there? There were 6 mindfulness meditations. These were the names, if you remember. Breathing, then body posture, bodily activities. Anatomical parts means dissection of the body to its individual parts, and then visualizing their nature. Then the 4-element meditation, we may not have time in the course to go into that. Well, it depends. If we can finish little early, I will introduce that as well. Then about the body as a corpse and its varying states. Now, we were actually discussing, we finished breathing, meditation, postures, activities. Anatomical parts we were discussing, how to dissect the body into its subparts and how to put them on the floor. And after that, we were trying to identify the properties of different parts which lie on the floor. That was the last meditation we did. I hope using the recording, you may have practiced it now, might have some experience already. But that day, I promised that there is another method, and I will teach you that method today, which is the part we are going to start now. So it will go up to the break. And after the break, we will not be discussing elements and corpse decay today. It depends, depending on the time, we will discuss them later. So after we finish this meditation, we will finish our discussions on mindfulness about the body. And we are moving to the mindfulness of the feelings. And we will do a practical session as well there. So that is the plan for today. Now, this second method of understanding the body is related with our food. We know we eat a lot of things as humans, isn't it? So we consider, we are trying to relate the food with the body. Thinking, of course, everyone knows that the body is made up of what we eat, made up of food. We can use that idea in order to do this meditation on anatomical parts. Okay, let me introduce the concept. After that, we will do it once. Since you have the recordings of these meditations, well, you may practice at any time at home now. Okay. different kinds of food, and they grow everywhere. We have these grains like rice, wheat, and we have vegetables. And you can see here the different fruits as well, some fruits. So how do they originate? They come out of the trees. And basically they take sunlight, energy from the sunlight, and take nutrition from the earth, and combine the elements to make our food like wheat and the vegetables, fruits, etc. So in this meditation, first we start visualizing this process, which is natural, how the trees grow up from the seeds. A tree will grow up and then will bear fruits. And that process is very easy to visualize because we have seen it many times. And these meditations are to change the perception, so change the mental formations by using proper volitions, meditation volitions. And since this part we have seen many times, how the trees come up, how they grow, and how they bear fruit. We know many different kinds of trees like that. So we have seen. You can, as the first step, we will visualize this when we do the meditation later, not now. So that is the first step. Okay, if you get any questions, please ask directly, or like earlier, you can write to the chat as well, or you can write to that Padlet which I opened that day. It's still open. Whichever way, you can always clear the doubts. Okay, moving on. In this picture, what do we see? We see lots of food here. And we see a person. Okay, we will be revisiting this picture again to see all kinds of food in this picture. All kinds of food. Have a look. Identify all kinds of food in their different states now, so that we can compare later. So now you have a perception of which kind of food is present in this picture, in this shop. And at what state the food is here, state of the food. Right, capture very quickly. Later we will revisit this diagram. Okay, now we know that these different kinds of food will be borne by the trees. We visualize what will happen if we don't collect them or harvest them. You can guess now. So those fruits, vegetables, grains, they will fall on the ground. They will fall on the ground, and if nobody collects them, most of them will be rotting actually. Some will become seeds, and you can visualize their color, changing color when they decay like that on the ground. Their smell also you can visualize. I think you can now remember the smell or the color of vegetables and fruits unplucked and dropped to the ground. We should remember them now. Okay, then we can notice that those vegetables, those fruits, everything will be decaying, actually rotting, becoming very, very unpleasant, unattractive. And the decay process is natural. It's under no one's control. Now, suppose we did not allow that to happen. In order to prevent them from rotting or decaying, let's assume that we harvested them at the proper time. We harvested all the fruit at the proper time, and then we bring them to the markets. We bring them to the markets and visualize or imagine now you have visited these markets and you have seen them selling vegetables, fruits, grains in those markets. And have you visited the backside of such markets where you find the fruits, vegetables which were not sold, which were left over, thrown away into a heap of things which is very unpleasant, still rotting and gives bad odor. So there again you see the vegetables, fruits, or our food gets converted into that state. What is the state? The decaying state, where the smell and appearance all become very unpleasant. And it's natural, isn't it? So it's nothing special that we are recollecting here. It's a natural process. So decaying and the smell you may remember now, because the smell that you had is in your memory now. As mental formations, you can quickly recall the color, the odor, and the state, can't we? And we will do it more strongly in our session meditation. So this is what I mentioned. Fruits which were not bought by the people. This is what happens. Now, suppose that we were intending to prevent this decay. What do? We buy them and bring them home. And then we store them in the racks. But there again, we know it's in the decaying process. Now, in order to prevent decay, what we can do is we can cook them. Cooked food. You can see here cooked food. And suppose they are ready to eat now. So they are in a particular state, the cooked state. Can we prevent decaying when we cook them? Maybe not. Suppose we leave this for a few hours on the table. You may now remember the bad odor coming. You may now remember the color change, and that state of food becomes stale. So even that means even if we cook, we can't stop that happening, isn't it? We can't stop that happening. Even if we put them in the fridge, we can't stop that happening. Of course, for a little bit of time, we may be able to delay it, but this is the natural process which happens all the time. Okay, one other way to try is, well, before they get stale or before they get rotten, why not eat them? Then we might be able to prevent them from decaying or becoming stale, isn't it? Okay, the eating is what we do before they become stale. Now, when we eat, what happens? These food go into our mouth and they get mixed with the saliva, and the state of the food will undergo a change. In fact, the saliva will make the food ready for the digestion by mixing with proper enzymes, etc. But what is important to us in meditation is, okay, what is the smell of the food which has been chewed already? What is the smell? What is the color? In order to identify the state, we will be looking at smell, color, and properties like that, which we can get from our five senses. Okay, this is food which were not eaten. What happens to them? We already discussed, so I will skip. Food which is eaten is no better, because the state of the food inside the mouth is very unpleasant. Maybe more unpleasant than what's on the plate. So its color and everything you can visualize during meditation and understand the unpleasant and attractive nature of the food mixed with saliva. Now, suppose still again, there again the state is continuing to change or decay. So let's say we assume that we swallowed the food, and the food is taken to the stomach, mixed with acid, and you can visualize what is the state there. It's not in a better state, isn't it? The color, the smell, and all is not that good. So during meditation, we visualize. Then these are just some photos to help you visualize. And then they will be taken through the intestines, and we visualize the state change happening within the intestines. That's of course again no better. It's very unpleasant, unattractive, bad smell, and all that is there, which is natural. We are not doing mental volitions which disturb us actually, because we are just thinking about the natural process that's happening in nature, not going against the nature. Okay, finally, what happens to the food which has been absorbed by the body in intestines? Okay, the food gets converted into another state. What is that state? It appears like hair. The food appears like the skin. The state of the food appear like teeth and organs and bones, and all the parts we discussed in our previous meditation becomes another state of the food actually. Nothing but the food. Nothing but the food. So if you consider a body, a human body, or a body of a living being, you can notice that all the body parts are actually one state of the food that has been taken. So when the food gets converted to hair, bodily hair, skin, teeth, and various organs, what are the properties? Have we stopped that natural process of decay or rotting after we have converted food into these things like hair? No, still food in that form, food in the form of body parts, we still cannot stop that natural process. We still cannot change that those natural properties. What are the natural properties? Bad smell and unpleasant nature, uh, and the decaying and unsatisfactory, and all that impermanence, all that will be still there, because those properties are the properties of food by nature. So although we converted the food into a different state like our body parts, even when they are in that state as body parts, we could not change their properties, and we cannot stop the decay. We cannot prevent the bad smell, although we try by various methods, like by putting various things on the skin which give fragrance. Those are only little tricks which cannot fully prevent the bad odor. So when you look at different people, their physical bodies are actually nothing but the food in a different state called the body or body parts. So that's what we think in this meditation. Until that mental formation happens properly, we should meditate. Okay, revisit this picture, and now you can identify all food in different states, isn't it? Well, these things are very clear. They are food. What you saw as a physical body of a person, now you know the real truth. You know that's also food in a different state, because that natural process of eating and digesting and absorbing the food and converting the food to hair and muscles and various body parts, we usually forget. And when we see a body of a person, we forget those properties of food, natural properties of food. This particular meditation gives us a deeper understanding about the food cycle. What is the cycle? When we say cycle, is there a cycle? Now we started our discussion by seeing how the trees come up, how the fruit appear, and we come up to this point. But this is not the end of the cycle. Let's discuss it a little further. Okay, the bodies. You know, bodies they decay. I mean, all bodies of living beings, finally, when they die, they decay, and body parts will be mixed with the nature again. This decaying process will be like this, slowly, and nothing will be left finally. Everything has been reabsorbed, taken back by the nature. And what happens after that? After that, it is just soil, just air, and again the trees will grow up. So this kind of a form of the body will be converted back to a tree, and a tree will bear the fruit again. Can we see the cycle here? The food cycle. It's all recycling of the matter. It's all matter in different states. So that is what we try to understand in this meditation. And the four elements, like earth element, fire element, water element, and air element, is being recycled in different form. Now, our talent should be that when they reappear in different form, can we still identify that it is It is just a different form of the same thing, and the properties, the decay process is continuing. So this is the food reappearing and trees growing again in the cycle. Okay, that is the meditation that we are going to do now for about 10 to 15 minutes. If you have any questions about this concept that we are going to use, this is the second method which I said earlier that this maybe is a little bit easy for some of you to start with than the other method. Well, any questions you can ask now. This is recycling, same happening again and again. Okay, that's all about that meditation. Okay, any questions? Right, seems that there are no questions. Okay, then we will do this meditation. We will practice it once, so once recorded, I think you can do it at any time. Okay, let me stop the video and okay, get ready to do a simple meditation now. Right, we may close our eyes. It's easy to visualize then. Okay, now visualize the trees growing from the earth, getting energy from the sun, taking nutrition from the earth. The trees are coming up. The body, the trunks of the trees and the leaves appear. Visualize all different kinds of trees. And then visualize, okay, next day, they are now bearing the fruits, bearing grains, bearing vegetables. Okay. Now visualize those things dropping to the floor because nobody harvested, nobody plugged them up. Okay, then under the trees, what's happening to them, that natural process, visualize. You can see them decaying. Color is changing. It's unpleasant, unattractive. Very foul smell is coming. Actually, a lot of creatures, animals are being attracted to them. You have seen this many times. Visualize those memories, using those memories. Okay, understand that this is the nature. This is the nature of the food. They are decaying continuously. The decay is not under my control and giving foul smell, becoming unattractive, unsatisfactory. That's the process. Those are the properties of the food in this process. Okay, now, after understanding that state of the cycle, we will move to the next state. Now visualize that those food which were not allowed to drop to the ground and instead being harvested or plucked by people or animals, visualize what happens to them. Okay, let's visualize the market now. The food being sold, and some people buy and take home, and what is not bought, you can visualize. They were collected in heaps just behind those boutiques. Visualize those heaps of food rotting, decaying, changing, very foul smell, very bad odor, a lot of cleaning being required to hide that. And visualize them finally decaying and decomposing fully to become earth element again, air element, fire element, and basically mixed to the nature. Okay, so there again notice this natural process cannot be stopped. It's not under my control. Food in that state is also still decaying, still giving foul smell, bad odor. All the properties, natural properties are there in that process. Okay, now next step, think of the people who, think of the food bought by the people, and they store them in the racks in their kitchen. Everywhere in the kitchens, you can now see certain portions of food items stored. Now, suppose they could not cook them. If they could not cook them, visualize that natural process happening again. Uncooked food items rotting in the racks, giving bad smell. Can you feel that bad smell? The foul smell of rotting fruits, vegetables, and grains, and become unattractive, unpleasant, and finally thrown away to be mixed with the nature again, so that the cycle can continue. Okay, visualize it as a very big process. Everywhere it happens, not only in your home, everywhere, worldwide, process happening. So it's so big, so large, unbounded process of conversion of the state of food. Okay, next state. Now think that in order to prevent this cycle, prevent the food from discoloring, decaying, let's assume we cook them. This is cooked food on the table now. The rice, can you see the vegetables? Visualize the fruit, all in the dishes on the table. Not only at your home, visualize everywhere. Worldwide, this is happening. So it's a very large process. And visualize that if we did not eat. We could not eat them. What happens to all that food? Can you feel the bad smell of rice and dishes and fruits when they become stale? Unbearable smell. So they are very unattractive, unpleasant, and bad smell, decaying, unsatisfactory, and the process is not under my control. Okay, this huge or large or widespread process everywhere happening, you can now visualize. Okay, let's move to the next step. Assume that in order to prevent it happening, in an attempt to prevent the decay happening, we ate the food. Not only you, all people, all animals eating food, you can visualize. Right now, how many of us, how many animals are eating? It happens continuously. And they are, imagine the food in their mouths being chewed and mixed with saliva. Visualize the color. Visualize the smell of the mouth, smell of the food inside the mouth. So it's very unattractive, unpleasant. So unpleasant that if you take out, you yourself can't eat it again, let alone the others. So unpleasant, a very bad smell, and still decay process happening, unsatisfactory and not under my control. So those properties still remain in that state of the food as well. Okay, now visualize, we move to the next state where the food is in the stomach now, mixed with various acids. And visualize all the stomachs of all people, all living beings at this moment. That state of the food is also having same properties, very unpleasant, very foul smell, and very unattractive, and decaying, and unpleasant, unsatisfactory. And what's happening there is not under anyone's control. What's happening there is not under anyone's control. The digestion of the food is a natural process. Control is not given to anybody. It is a nature making it to happen. You can't decide how much of acid to be mixed. You can't decide up to what time that you will be digesting. They are all under the control of the nature. Okay, visualize this digestion process happening everywhere in the bodies, within the bodies of all kinds of living beings. So it's a huge process happening right now and happening all the time in the history as well, and right now as well, and in the future as well. But in all places, the food in stomach is unattractive, unpleasant, and those properties or features are still true. Visualize the next step now. Okay, the food is going to the intestines, and there again, smell is bad, the color is bad, smell is very foul. So visualize the food inside the intestines. Okay, now visualize them being absorbed by the intestines, and visualize them being converted to hair. Not only within your body, this is right now happening in all bodies. Food being converted to a form like skin. Food being converted to a form like teeth. And being converted to a form like muscles, bones. And that conversion process happening right now in all the bodies, can you visualize? It's a big process, widespread, unbounded, happening everywhere. Very large natural process. And happening right now within your body as well. Okay, now visualize the hair, bodily hair, teeth, bones, skin, the brain, and the heart, lungs, and all the body parts, muscles, nails, everything. Visualize everything in your body, everything in others' bodies, and they are food, nothing but food, appearing in a different form. So has those properties changed? No, still very unattractive. How can they be attractive just when the form change? And still giving very foul smell, very bad smell, and still unpleasant. Of course, not satisfactory. I mean, given a choice, you would not choose this color, this smell of the body, this shape of the body maybe. So they are not under your control. So keep thinking, they are not under my control. They are unsatisfactory. They are impermanent, decay, and foul smell, and bad color. I can't show these parts to anybody. Okay. So put in the state of different body parts. Visualize all of them everywhere, and understand that the properties are the same. Now visualize the bodies again being decomposed when these living beings die. So when you die, this particular body, or when others die, their bodies. When animals die, their bodies. Visualize very unpleasant, very foul smell, unattractive, rotting, decaying, not under anybody's control. They are unsatisfactory. And now visualize the completion of the cycle, that the bodies have become fully decomposed, everything mixed with the nature again, and the matter getting converted to trees again, trees coming up from the earth, the matter getting converted into that different form of the food. Again, the grains appear, the fruits appear, vegetables appear. That form reappears now. Now visualize all the cycle, full cycle, and understand that in no place of the cycle, the decaying or the impermanence has stopped. And in all places, it's rotting, decaying, giving foul smell, bad smell, unattractive, unpleasant nature. So visualize the complete cycle. And now visualize your own body as food, nothing but food, within that cycle, caught by the cycle, and you can't escape. You can't escape from the process. Okay, so that will be the meditation volitions. Now it's time for us to come out of meditation. Request your mind. Okay, I am going to stop this meditation now. Stop this meditation now, and I am coming out of meditation state. Several times you can think like that, and slowly you can reopen the eyes. Okay, recap that experience again. Now we have a broader understanding of the cycles that happen, the recycling process that happens. And we can now see that bad smell, that unpleasantness cannot be stopped. It's a natural part of the nature. Right, it's time for our break. We will break for 10 minutes. And after we gather again, we will be discussing the mindfulness on feelings. Have the break now.